Hey guys, Kyle, the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my review for Eden Zero Chapter 73. And honestly, this one was a pretty straightforward chapter. I don't know if I'm going to have a whole lot in order to talk about with this one, but but yeah, but yeah, um, so like it's not like it was a bad chapter or anything like that. It's just it was a very straightforward, like, pretty much setup chapter that was setting up pretty much a pretty much fight with Laguna, but that was really about it. Um, with that said, though, first off, the bulk of this chapter was really just Laguna fighting against everyone, and the first thing to note there, I suppose, is again how Mashima managed to take something so fantastically stupid, or just something we would think is so weird, nonsensical, and stupid, and basically, by the miracle of just presentation, he managed to make that stupid thing into a legitimate and threatening power. Because when I first heard Laguna say that anyone who cries in front of him, that first heard him say that anyone who cries in front of him turns to water, I kind of rolled my eyes and said, "Really, Mashima?" Like, don't get me wrong, there was a lot of goofiness exploited with this concept, but just the way again, the way that Mashima, he basically he visualized it, and presents an idea in the chapter itself, but just the way he presents that to us, there suddenly is a very terrifying quality to see everyone evaporate into water like they did. Like, again, it's that weird but perfect balance between there's goofiness there, but when you actually see everyone pretty much turn into water, it's like suddenly, holy shit, it's suddenly a terrifying, suddenly the goofiest of power become terrifying. I don't know how, yeah, I don't know how Mashima does it, but he does it very well. I have to give him that credit, is that he manages to make the most goofy powers into the most threatening, just through the simplest of execution. Yeah, just, and obviously the biggest thing here too is that, obviously, he basically said that none of them are dead. He's just holding them captive in this water like state. But it's like, even just knowing that they're still alive, it's just one of those things where you're like, okay, this, even just knowing they're still alive, it still doesn't take away from just how terrifying the whole concept in itself kind of is. Um, Also, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of did laugh at how Mashima subverted the whole concept of villain backstory and motivation by when we see Laguna, he was using his backstory and his motivation as a ploy in order to get Homura to lower her guard and cry. Just again, there are small moments like that where he managed to subvert a trope a little bit. There are small moments like that I've noticed in Eden Zero nowadays, where he really manages to, in order to subvert a certain trope. And I love it when he does that. He uses, in this case, it was Laguna, just telling his backstory and motivation as a ploy, as part of his plan, in order to get Homer to lower guard. And yeah, I really love that. Um, Now, how much of that what was actually true remains to be seen, and I'm not, even though it was used as even though Mashmi used it as a bit of a subversion of a trope. I'm curious a little bit, in order to get Laguna's backstory now, if we're gonna even get it all. I want to know how much of what he said to Homer is true, or how much in general of that backstory is true. Um, Now, obviously, the big setup with this chapter is Weisz being the one who managed to avoid being trapped by Laguna's ability, and now being the only one who can defeat him. And the thing is, just knowing that, I'm actually a little bit more torn about this setup than you'd think. Because on one hand, I'm all for Mashima giving Weisz some solo spotlight. Like I think it is something like Weisz himself is desperately is definitely due. But on the other hand, there was actually a brief moment where it felt more like he was gonna give Homer that spotlight. So I'm a little let down that that didn't happen because it would have been an interesting first step, an interesting first test run in order to see her, like pretty much fight as the new Valkyrie and kind of like representing the pretty much 4 star shines. But I'm sure Mashima has got his own plans as to which of the element 4 is gonna face Homura. And again, Weisz, Weisz being the one to fight Laguna, I'm still all for, because I do have to admit he's kind of been left a little to the wayside. Even though he did have his moment as well in the even though he has had his moment did have his moment in the in the Sun Jewel arc. Overall, he has been kind of a little bit left to the wayside. I will admit that. So it's still going to be great in order to see him get pretty much focused like this. And now I will say there is a tiny bit of suspension of disbelief in how Weisz escaped Laguna's powers, but I do very much enjoy how just in the little moment of bringing the app into the conflict, it does put Weisz's intellect in the forefront, and that's what I'm And honestly, that kind of gives me a little bit maybe too hot. I'm not gonna lie, I might be getting my hopes and my expectations up a little too high, but just in that small moment of Weisz like bringing the app into this and showing us how he escaped from Laguna. I'm kind of hoping like pretty much Mashima. I'm hoping that the one thing that Mashima does with this fight is that he basically brings like Weisz's intellect into pretty much the forefront of everything. Just alone in Weisz like using the app in order to escape Laguna. That already kind of puts like Weisz's intellect in the forefront already in the forefront of this chapter. So I'm hoping he pretty much carries that over into this fight as well, and show us a lot more of Weisz's intellect being put to use in this fight. Like I mean, obviously we're gonna see a lot of flashy stuff with Weisz wearing his armor, but I'm curious how Weisz is going to combine his basically his fighting style while still making it like a battle of intellect and wits, and almost like it didn't occur to me until this chapter, but it made me realize how much I want to see Weisz fight from using his intellect, which is something that I guess always happens, but I feel it is something that is a little. That does get a little forced. That did get a little bit like undermined or just kind of like not as focused as much whenever he wears the armor. So I'm hoping that kind of plays a bit more of a part now. Now one thing I do hope to also get with this fight is a little bit more explanations on Laguna's power, or more specifically, what are the rules by which he can activate them, because I do get the sense that there is more than one condition outside of his opponent crying that is needed for him to activate his ability, but at the same time, if there is more to his power and how he activates it, then yeah, I want to get a little more in depth with that and learn like what exactly is it that you kind of need in order to actually like what are the circumstances and what are the conditions needed to activate this power overall. But yeah, guys, that's all I've got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Crunchyroll. Dead Knight of Anime, signing off. Later, guys.